thanks very much for coming. I'm apparently the interim chair, which is a great title. I didn't realise I had that till I was in the room at 7:05, but I'll take that. Effectively, if you don't know me, my name's Steve Skinner. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Supporters Trust. Obviously, the Supporters Trust will still be in effect until the 31st of July this year, when people's memberships will run out. And then what will happen is that will be superseded by vote into the community football club should we get the go-ahead to take that organisation forward. So people will stop being a member of the Supporters Trust and then become members of the community football club or the Community Benefit Society. So effectively that's where we're sitting at the moment. I've been chairing the group that's been looking at the future of the football club since Andy's announcement that he wanted to step back from the financial side of the football club. And obviously being aided and helped by a lot of other people within the club, both inside and outside the trust as well. So effectively what I'm looking at with regards to this evening is just really to try and give you an overview of the presentations you're going to be seeing a little bit later on. Okay. The situation is that the format of the evening will be the opening from me, and then after that you'll hear from people like Glyn Jarvis and also James Matthew from Supporters Direct, who's come from London tonight to talk to us about the football club and the community benefit societies and his experience at moving football clubs and other sporting clubs into community benefit societies where they're run by the supporters. Effectively, there's been many important milestones in our club's long history, and tonight is certainly one of them. In fact, the next few weeks could well be the most important phase in our history, as the outcome of the share offer will pretty much shape our future and dictate what the club will look like in the short and the medium term. I'd like to say, with regards to James's guidance, he's been invaluable, particularly to Glyn Jarvis over the last 3 months in helping us to move from the situation we were in February, March time to progress to where we are tonight. And to say, hopefully, you'll find his presentations extremely interesting in terms of what he's able to offer us in respect of moving us further to the next step. I appreciate all of you guys attending, because if you felt like me on Monday night at about 9:45, you're probably going to think about quitting watching football together. And I just, after that game, just felt that, if only our overpaid international footballers put in the same commitment as some of the people that we see in the Ryman League week in, week out. But I know Michael Parker's not here, but I don't know if anybody's bought his hotel room in Paris on Saturday night or his Iceland-France ticket for the quarter-final at the weekend. But as you know, as football fans, we get over these disappointments, and there's always another season around the corner. For us at Grays, we've got an open training session to attend at Palmer's College, which will be happening on Saturday the 9th. And then we've got 7 pre-season friendlies starting from the 16th of July, so the season will get underway really quickly. Our league matches start on the 13th of August, with the Ryman Premier pretty much looking as competitive as it's ever been, especially the new teams joining it as well. Plenty of good away trips to look forward to. I'm sure our travelling support will be looking at the fixtures when they're out on the 15th of July, deciding the road trips and the weekends away. Getting back to this evening, as I said, we'll have a presentation from James. We did try and fit in Fred Wakeling's 72-year walk through his history as a Grays Athletic fan, but we're not going to have time, so we're looking to try and have this meeting finished within the hour. Okay. In terms of questions and answers, we're looking for you to really just try and keep your questions and answers till after James's session, okay? Because he'll be looking to help you clarify any points which you may not understand from his presentation on how the share offer will work, okay? Following that presentation, I'll be coming on back at the end of the meeting to unashamedly ask for your support, so it's something for you to look forward to. And once the presentations have ended, we'll be handing out the community share offer booklet, which will contain all the information that you'll need to know. The bar is obviously stocked, and feel free to have another drink and donate towards the cost of that. And obviously, if you use that opportunity at the end of the meeting to chat to any one of the presenters or anybody else within the group with regards to any of the documentation that you read or any of the aspects that are discussed on the stage this evening. Okay. Look forward to talking to you later. Can I now ask you to give a warm welcome to James Maffey from Supporters Direct.
The longest entrance I think I've ever had. It's like picking up an Oscar. I'm not. Firstly, just thank you for coming out tonight. As Steve said, football is rather depressing at the moment, so well done for turning up and supporting the club. As Steve said, been chatting to the guys at Grays for 3 or 4 months. Vin Jarvis has probably become my new best mate in the office. We speak pretty much daily, but joking aside, there's been actually a heck of a lot of effort that's gone in from this side to get to where we are. So our job really, and my job in particular, is to explain a little bit what the hell we've been doing. To start with, I'm just going to explain a little bit about Supporters Direct, what Support Rome Club is, how it runs, who else is doing it, and a little bit more about the technical stuff behind it. I think Glyn's going to then come in and talk a little bit more about how he thinks that works here, and then I'll be back on just to talk a bit more about the actual share offer itself, how it will fit together, and the timeline that hopefully we'll work to. And as I say, we'll try and wrap that up in plenty of time, so there's time for questions as well. So, okay. Don't know if you can you see? Well, this is a picture of a man. He's a very important guy in terms of the history of Supporters Direct. It's Brian Lomax. Brian is was a Northampton Town supporter, and in the early 90s, when many football clubs were getting into financial trouble, Brian basically helped lead, support a response from the community when his club, Northampton Town, got into financial trouble. So the normal stuff happened, the buckets came out, the community rallied round, they raised some money, and rather than just hand it over to the owners, Brian was a bit more of a visionary, and he said, actually, you know what, we've got all this support from the community, we've got this money together, actually, rather than just hand it over, we think we should have a say, an ongoing stake in how this club is run. And Brian became the first elected director onto the board of a professional football club in England. So, as democratic membership of supporters in the community, and they elected Brian to serve them on the board of the football club. So, he was basically a bit of a pioneer for football over here. The politicians liked it, they got interested. One of the many reports into football about what can change, what can be different. I'm sure there'll be one soon, coming in the next few weeks. Now England have been knocked out of another competition. But as we all know, there's all sorts of fantastic ideas about how English football can change and be better, both at club and international level. And this was one of those reports in 1999. And everything bar 2 things got ignored. A big old report, and one of them was this idea that supporters' trusts could be formed to represent supporters' issues in their football club, based on Brian's model. So this is back in 1999, and in 2000, Supporters Direct got set up. And the idea really was just to see, 15 or 20, I think was the initial target, to see if we could get some supporters trusts set up in England. So these supporters trusts, independent bodies, the supporters had to say that they were interested in doing it, to represent the supporters' views, democratic, one member, one vote. Really, because there was so much money coming into English football, but yet supporters felt so distant really from a lot of the decisions that were being made at the club. So it was a way to help supporters get organised, get a bit more professional and credible, and have a voice. And that's really what it was. It wasn't about owning clubs or raising a significant amount of money. It was just having an organised, credible voice. Fast forward 15 years, I should say myself, I've been lucky to be at SD almost 10, so I'm looking forward to a testimonial next season. But Brian sadly passed away actually last year, and his legacy, if you call it that really, is that there's now about 190 supporters trusts across the UK, and almost 50 actually own and run their clubs. So, you know, for what really was, you know, a humble guy who had a community sense in Northampton town, you know, there's great acorns have grown, and it's, you know, supporters trust and support-run clubs aren't without their struggles, and they have, you know, difficulties in trying to get decisions amongst a large group of membership. There's challenges as clubs try and compete with privately owned clubs that have got more money. But amongst those challenges, there's some fantastic success stories as well. And I'll tell you, I'll tell you about both, the challenges and the successes. So that's where Supporters Direct came from. We are a not-for-profit ourselves. Our members are the clubs and supporters trusts that we've helped set up. We are a big cooperative, so if you become a supporter-owned club, then you'll have an equal share in Supporters Direct, and you can put yourself forward or elect our board, who I ultimately serve underneath. We reinvest all our money that we make to improve support involvement and get more clubs into support revenue. So I'm lucky because I do a job that I love, and get to speak and help different communities out there. But yeah, it's not about making vast sums of money, hence there's no Porsche in the car park. But that's what we're all about. We're 15 years in. And for us, when it comes to ownership, we think that success can flow from that ownership structure of the club. So, whilst there's 150 supporters trusts or so that don't own their club, I'm going to focus really, because it's much more relevant today, on the 50 or so that do own their club. They use exactly the same legal model and exactly the same principle. So for us, the model we use is Steve's already done his own work. We use a model called a Community Benefit Society, which basically is a cooperative, works on a one member, one vote basis. It's an annual renewing membership, which is kept low so that people can afford to join. The members are the ultimate owners of the club. They elect the board each year. There's normally a rotation of board places, 3-year cycles, so a third of the board gets re-elected each year. And there's a real solid constitution which we've built up over time, that the 50 clubs pretty much all have the same constitution from SD, which they just tweak for their own needs. And that helps protect really the ethos of being a supporter-owned club. So if you can imagine, there's clubs like Chester and Wrexham who have quite some rivalry going on there. People, for example, say, well, if they're supporter-owned clubs, can't the other supporters become members and disrupt and cause trouble and get Wrexham wearing a blue kit and all this sort of stuff? Well, actually, you've got a constitution which is solid, which stops various things happening. That's the model that we use. This is the most boring slide, so if we get past this, it's good. But whilst talking about the legal structure is a bit dull, that is so important really to the club in how it sets itself out. So, Community Benefit Society is an incorporated body, just like a company. It has limited liability, which means you as members are only liable for your £1 share. So unless there's any dodgy dealing going on and fraudulent activity, your liability is only ever going to be £1. And that also means that you can hold assets, like a lease for a ground, or collectively as a group. It also means you're, much like a company is overseen by Companies House, if anyone's lucky enough to file returns at Companies House, a Community Benefit Society is overseen by Financial Conduct Authority, so they act as the regulator. So you'll be, if you need to change the rules, they have to approve the changes to the rules. You have to file a return each year with the FCA as well, which adds a little bit more bureaucracy, but it also gives a few more safeguards to you as a member. And if you want to go out and speak to sponsors and partners and other people, it's that little extra bit of confidence that they like to see in the model. So for us, community ownership is a model which can give you opportunities and help you set yourself out in a different way. Can't obviously promise all these because it's being filmed and I'll probably get sued. So we'll caveat this with, these are possibilities. These are based on our experience. If people get behind the model, believe in the model, value the fact that you own the club, see that as a positive, these are all things that other clubs have seen and can be, achieved. So more supporters. For us, like if you own your club just as much as the next person sat next to you here, no matter how much money you've got, and other people, you get that message out. Owning your club is, embeds that. People feel they morally own the club probably anyway. So why not just get the right legal clothes and actually make it work? Getting more supporters is important, but also getting supporters that actually realise that you are the future, you are the club. So if the club gets in difficult times, like Lewis, or a support-run club, got relegated this season, is there? Yeah, there's going to be some people that are a bit miffed, a bit put out, but how they're going to react? Is the club going to go bust? Is it going to be, people resigning and this, that and the other? Well, no, they realise that actually they're the people that have got to solve the issues. Sometimes support-run clubs get relegated. AFC Telford were another one that got close this season, but they've been up and down, and they've, financially remained stable. And sadly, we look at a lot of other clubs who have gone up and they've gone down twice as fast, and sometimes had to reform from the bottom or haven't been seen again. So it's about having more supporters, but it's also about having resilience and understanding from the supporters. You can't stand on the sidelines now and shout at the board for more money for a better striker. It's basically the responsibility of everyone. If that's what you want, you've got a club together and think about how you can make it work. More volunteers. We actually did a study last year which looked at 6 support-run clubs. We got them to value how much their volunteering is each year. So we picked 6 clubs, a bit of a spread. So there were a couple of clubs in the Football League, a couple of clubs that play at a level lower than you, and they valued it about 125 grand a year, just paying people the minimum wage, about how much time they put in as volunteers into their football club. So, which is pretty staggering, and we all know at this level volunteering is the backbone really of the club. Not to say that volunteering doesn't happen with the other clubs, but again, it's another way to draw people in. Some of the same people that will always be here, but also trying to get other people in to say that you own the club, it's yours, this is for Grays, this is for the community. Come and give us a hand, and it's worked for some. Sponsors gives you a different sell. Again, all the money you make as a community-owned club gets reinvested. We all know that you're not going to be sat on huge piles of money anyway, and it's not like you're going to be distributing that money to your shareholders, but that makes a difference to sponsors and some businesses because they know, it's a club that reinvests all its money. It's owned by the community, it's owned by the people. And that works. That's helped some clubs attract sponsors. It's helped some clubs get sponsors for a longer period of time. So every year you can actually budget it, knowing that 2-3 seasons down the line you've got a sponsor who's good for that amount of money, which, as you know, makes a huge difference when you budget it. So it's a different sell. It's an opportunity to pitch yourself differently to the community. There's a lot of clubs in non-league, as we know, which will feel much like Grays. It feels like a community-owned club, but if you look them up, a lot of them will be private companies, and although they're not really private companies because no one's there to make loads of money, that will be an issue for some councils or for some businesses and other partners who want to get involved. So it's about helping just to clear everything up, be completely transparent, and show that you run a different ship to some of the other clubs. And that's the more trust bit, obviously. It's not going to be without its arguments. A few hundred people. I bet everyone in this room couldn't agree on who the starting forward should have been against Iceland. We're not all going to agree, but it's about trying to go forward together and keep a bit of unity and have a decent debate, and have trust, really. And that's what this model should do. The board are accountable to the membership. If the membership don't like what's going on, the membership can actually call a meeting or get rid of the board. There's the powers that are in there, and that's the way it should work. More protection. There's an asset lock clause, for example, that's in the rules. There's different quorums that you need to get the members to come out and vote on a particular issue. So, for example, AFC Wimbledon have just basically got their members to agree to sell their ground, what was Kingsmeadow. They needed to get a hell of a lot of people to come out and vote for that, which they've managed to do, but that was important for them, that they needed such a high number to turn out, because obviously, what the history of their club and what happened with an old ground sale. So, again, there's a constitution in there which can be set up in a way to protect whatever you want to protect, whether that's the name, the kit, the grounds, that hopefully we're going to see here, or whatever it might be. And sustained success, that sounds really dull, doesn't it? I know, but that's what we need. It's not a guarantee. We know that this isn't about guaranteeing results on the pitch, but it's basically trying to get the most stable off-the-pitch environment we can, to give a decent budget to the manager, and if it doesn't work out, the club doesn't go bust, and it doesn't fail, and it doesn't get relegated, and everything falls apart. It's about giving yourself a chance off the pitch. If it goes well on the pitch, then you bank it and you move on. So, as I said, disclaimer, no guarantee, but they're opportunities, and there's a bit on the website which has got some actual examples of some of these areas about how you can build some potential in there, and obviously a lot of that potentially can be extra revenue or cost saving, which is what you need. I'm guessing no one can see that. Yeah. It's a bit better. I can see. So that's the UK. All the badges, I'm guessing you can't read the right down side. These are all the clubs that we've worked with and supported direct, that we classify as community owned or support run clubs. And there is a real spread. So there's a few clubs in League 2, and it stretches down to clubs that play a few levels beneath where you guys are at in the pyramid now. And each, to be honest, each has got a different story of how they got there. So, probably we categorise them really as clubs where they've reformed, where there's been a crisis, they've gone bust, like a Chester City that's gone out of the league, their supporters reformed it as Chester FC, they've worked their way back up the leagues to Conference Premier or National League, whatever it's called these days. You've got community takeovers where the club was in administration or certainly in point of crisis, and the community or supporters have taken it over and they've played in the same league. So I think Wrexham was one of those a few years back. Then there's ones which we call, well, new starts. So there's a couple like FC United that you might have heard of, where there's one at the City of Liverpool where the supporters have just basically had enough and wanted, for various reasons, wanted to start their own club using these principles. And then there's really the bit that's growing the most, which is exciting, which I think this falls into this category, which is developmental, really, where there's an opportunity for a change of ownership for supporters to take it on. One in your league that we did, I think last season, season 4, was Tunbridge Angels, where we just restructured how the club was set up, so the supporters owned it on a one-member, one-vote basis. Newport County was one in the league that we did last season, where Lotto Les, the lottery winner, was realising that he was losing all his lottery winnings at Newport County, and this is on camera, but he had a change of wife, and I think she realised too, and actually we realised that the supporters needed to get a bid together, and they had an opportunity, working with him to actually take on the club. So that, I think you're in that category, and there's a real growing momentum, particularly in non-league English football, where I think these opportunities are coming up, where there's a change of ownership, where perhaps people have run the club for a while, they realise that they can't do it on their own, or the supporters of the community just realise that actually at this level, the things that really matter, the number of volunteers you can get, and the amount of sponsors you can attract, that actually you're better off looking at this model. So there's a couple of other clubs in your league at the moment that are working towards this, which I think I can make so Kingstone and Dulwich Hamlet are a couple. Obviously Enfield Town in your league, they fall into, over 10 years, 15 years they've been in supporter ownership. They were the pioneers, really. And obviously that was a split of the old club, and the supporters brought that club back up. So the purpose of this slide, A, it looks pretty, but B, it's basically to say there's lots of clubs all across the UK. It's a growing thing. They're all there for different reasons. Each has got its own challenges. Often you've got to unpick what you're taking over, the legacy and what the club looked like before. But ultimately, it only works if you can get enough interest and support from the supporters in the community. Because ultimately, we can't just present it and give it. It's got to be something that everyone here is up for, wants, and is keen to spread the message. I think so. That's half time, and I'll get Lynn to come on with the oranges, and then I'll talk a bit more about the show offer itself. So thanks.
The vision that we see is a club owned and run by the supporters. It plays an important role in our local community. It gives an opportunity for young people to become involved in football at our grassroots level, and allows everyone to play a meaningful role in a democratically run community organisation. And that's the broad vision of where we think we want it to be. So how did the little group that's been working on this reach that conclusion? Well, it's taken a long time to get here. And I won't do Fred's history of the football club, but I'll do my own little bit back in 1982. From then, when a private company was formed to run the affairs of the club. And for those who can remember, that was after the ground was sold to Ron Billings on the instruction of the charity commissioners. And we started at that time with £30,000 of debts and a struggling football team. Within 6 years, we cleared all the debts, and for those that can also remember, we achieved 3 promotions during that period. But by the start of the new millennium, we'd consolidated that, we'd been relegated and promoted again. But it had really become a struggle to sustain ourselves at a decent level of non-league. And things looked pretty bleak actually. We sat in the bottom two of the Ryman Prem division, along with Dulwich Hamlet. Interesting that they're going down the same route as we're now proposing. That was in December 2000. And another relegation was really just staring us in the face. Then Mike Woodward came along, and he offered to take over the running of the team initially. And then he quickly transformed our on-the-field performances and then took over the running of the club. As the volunteers basically left, or like me, really just became part of a growing band of supporters who enjoyed the ride on the way to 2 FA Trophy wins, narrow defeat in a conference playoff semi-final, And unfortunately it wasn't sustainable, as Mike also found it very difficult to maintain that status and find us a new home along the way. And the recreation ground was lost, as we all know very sadly, to development in 2010. So after 10 years at the helm, Mike handed over the reins to Andy Swallow. Andy coped, I would say, manfully for over 6 years, dealing with knockbacks on our league status. I don't think our league, we thought that Kelly Discipline from the Ryman League might be here tonight, but she may see this on film, and it's no disrespect to her or the league, but Andy had knockbacks just dealing with our league status in his early days, as to which division we went to. Difficult ground share arrangements, which didn't get any easier when West Ham persuaded us to leave the ground a year before we should have done, in terms of their ground at the Brush Green. And I think in the end, Andy became just so frustrated with, and I'll just call it the bugbear of our time, and I'll just call them football agents, affecting our level of play, agents being involved. And I think he felt he'd really done enough, dug deep, and it was time to take a back seat, step back from the running of the club and the funding of the team. The great news is that Andy has now agreed to hand over the ownership and running of the club to the supporters. That's all been signed off. He will continue to search for a new ground, hopefully a ground with decent, up-to-date facilities of which we can all be proud. I'm sure we'll wish him well in his efforts on our behalf. But we feel we must now look forward and develop the club with the help of our most important asset, you, supporters. Rather than rely on one person to control what we do and how the club is run. That's the concept that we're wanting you to buy into. We have to show the FA and the league that we're able to take on the business side in tandem with the playing side in a financially viable way, which brings us to the community share issue we're going to hear about from James shortly. But before I hand over to him, I just want to mention the longer term plan for the club, because I think it's important that we do look a little bit further ahead than even next season or two. We're now moving into our 6th year of ground share, and I'd like to place on record our thanks to Avery Football Club for their continuing support, without which our club may not have survived. But ground sharing is not a long-term solution for a sustainable Grays Athletic. We need to be able to generate income streams off the field to support the team on the field. We can only do that with our own ground, clubhouse and community facilities. I will just say the search for the new ground, I think, is critical to our long-term sustainability. And while progress has been slow, we all know that, it's just been slowed down even more recently, and that's caused by the government consideration of the route for the proposed new Lower Thames crossing, which would impact on our plans. But we remain hopeful that that project will move forward with our partners and with the support of Thurrock Council. In the meantime, we need to raise funding to give us a kickstart as a supporter-owned and run club. We do have a 3-year financial plan, which, with your support, we believe can help us maintain certainly our current status in the period. And just turning briefly to the financing of the club over the next 3 years, our income forecasts are, I think, prudent, and we hope we can do better than the forecasts. On expenditure, we've also been cautious. We aim to generate a small surplus in the first 2 years to give us a bit of leeway going forward from there. But we don't have that ability to easily generate new revenues without new facilities. You can view the forecast, by the way, for our first 3 years of planned supporter ownership. It's on the club website. There's lots and lots of information there, which I think some of you may have already seen, but there's a huge amount of information about the way we're trying to go forward, but obviously that's about the democracy of what we're trying to achieve, to make people aware of what we're trying to do and to buy into that. But tonight is actually all about our loyal group of supporters, many of whom are here tonight, not all of them, because I'd like to think we've got a few more supporters out there who couldn't make it tonight. It doesn't quite look like an average league gate to me, a little bit shy on numbers, but we do appreciate you being here. But it is really looking to you guys to show your commitment to the cause and spread the word to friends, families, work colleagues, many of whom may well have supported us in the past, but not at the moment. We need to encourage everyone to do what they can to help us raise the money, which is essential to give us foundations on which to build something I think could be a bit special over the years to come. So how about we try and give our Grays playing legend and now new manager, Jamie Stewart, the boost he needs to put out a competitive team on pitch and show him and the football world what being a Blues supporter is all about. I think that's enough from me, because we've got lots more detailed stuff from James to go through about the share offer itself. But I'll hand over to him. Thank you for listening so kindly. Come on, you Blues!
Okay. Not going to many more slides, I promise. But I just wanted to obviously go into a little bit of detail about the share offer. And there are copies. Your reward for sitting through an hour of us is you get a share offer at the end of it. But I just want to pick out some of the main points, and then obviously there'll be questions so we can get into some of the stuff that I haven't covered. First thing to really say is that the share offer, we've set a minimum target of £30,000, and the way it works is if we don't hit that amount, then this doesn't move forward. So there's no point in us moving forward. In fact, I wouldn't feel comfortable standing here if you don't reach that target. There's not enough money so that you can actually give this a chance, give it an opportunity. So it's a stretching target, but we have to meet that. Otherwise, there's just not going to be enough money to give yourself a good chance. There's no hiding the club has made financial losses year on year, like lots of football clubs in the non-league. The support-run clubs we've worked with, they broadly break even or make a small surplus, but sometimes it takes some time for them to turn around the business, particularly as Glyn said, without the ground it's really challenging and difficult. So, and as Glyn said, the projections are on the website. They don't make for particularly pretty reading, if I'm honest. They're an honest assessment, a prudent assessment of basically what the club could look like in the next 3 years. But it means that you can keep the club going for 3 years, puts you in control of the destiny of the club. And particularly when it comes to the ground, in our experience, this change of ownership can help make a case and build partnerships because of the way you set up. But we have to hit £30,000, and otherwise we can't progress. So this money, all the money that we raise, will just be sat in a deposit account. If we don't hit 30,000, the money comes back, and the opportunity for the community to take over the club, as far as we can see it, unless something else comes out of the blue, is not going to happen. You know, and that obviously leaves uncertainty about what happens at the club. But it's better than us trying to move forward without enough money, because it puts everyone's money at risk. So the minimum, the target collectively we have to raise is £30,000, and the date we've set is the end of next month. So it's a very quick target, and obviously the reason we've done that is to give as much security and understanding really what the position is going to be for the next season. So we need to know basically what the response is. Of course, there's been interest already, and people have said, yeah, I'm up for it. But you know, this is the time to do it. So we need to hit that minimum. Following that minimum, the more we can raise, the better it will be. You know, so the money will go. Sorry, the slide is a lot bit on. So the end date is 31st of July. It's, as I say, the money is really to transition from being a loss-making club. Gives you some working capital. It will help allow you to make those surpluses in the first couple of years. In terms of how the actual shares work, just to explain, and there is loads more detail in the booklet, but if you imagine the Community Benefit Society, which we talked about as the model, it works on an annual membership, so you pay your annual membership, which is a low figure, and that gives you your vote and say, an equal say as the next person. Okay? There's two types of share. So one is the member share, which gives you all the powers to be a member and have a say. Then there's the second type of share, which is popularly being called community shares. It's exactly the same type of share where you might have heard of communities buying their local pub or the local shop. It uses exactly the same model. Basically, what it is, you have to be a member to be able to buy these community shares. And these community shares are £1 shares. They don't go up and down in value, but they'll be attached to your account, as it were. And there's the possibility in the future that they might be withdrawable. There's no guarantee that that's possible, but if the club makes a surplus, or the ground move goes ahead, and start making revenue from a bar or whatever it might be, there's potential that members can request to withdraw their share capital in the future. The board would be elected by the members, who are under no obligation to pay that money back. It's only if the club can afford to do it. The shares can pay a small amount of interest. Yes. The shares can pay a small amount of interest if the club does well, sells a player or whatever it might be, but it's small. It's not really the reason to put your money in to get a return. If you imagine, it's a bit like it's a bit more than a donation, but it's not a great deal more. It's trying to find a happy medium between there's only so much you can raise from donations, and actually where a lot of football clubs have gone in the past is to loans, to borrowing money, which, as we know, can create problems down the line. So it's the middle ground. So you have to be a member, and then you can buy these community shares. If we, and as Glyn helpfully pointed out, there's a lock-in period as well for the first 3 years that no one can apply to withdraw their money, to give the club a chance to try and find itself and steady itself. Now, what was I going to say? Sorry. If we hit 30k, and to be honest, we want to raise as much, if we can get past that, it'd be fantastic. As I said, the more money we can raise, the more security really it gives, and the more reserves you'll have. If we hit that 30k, then we can open up membership because we know we're confident we've got enough money that the community can take on the club. So for those people who just haven't got the money to buy community shares but want to be a member of the club and have an equal vote and say, then £30 membership will be possible as soon as we know we've hit that target. And we want to know that people are interested, so people can still fill in a form at the moment to join for £30 on the presumption that we meet that target. That's another message to take out, and again there's a separate application form that I'd like to be a member, but I can't buy community shares. If it all goes ahead, then I'd like to be a member for the £30. So I know there's a couple of things to get your head around, but basically we have to hit the minimum 30k. If we do, then we can open up membership, and we want to get as many members obviously as possible. That's what these support-run clubs really thrive on. It's not that it's necessarily the money from the membership. It's knowing that you've got 200, 300, 400 people that have all joined, that all might want to volunteer, that all might know a business that wants to put money in, that all basically bought into the vision of the club. Yes, there's the 30k minimum, but also the more we raise, the better. And as I said, absolutely fundamental to this. And again, I know it goes against any kind of common sense in business and how we're all told the more money you put in, the more shares you get, the more say you get. At this level, and in football generally, actually, we think together you're a lot stronger. And unless someone's going to come in and put multi-millions of pounds, actually having everyone on side with the vision, bought into this, one member, one vote, makes a difference. That is your point of difference, and that is your strength. There's loads of detail in the share-off document, and I know there's going to be questions because I've only put one slide up essentially to describe the 16-page A5 booklet, which has taken the best part of 2 months and going backwards and forwards to produce. So that's fine. We'll stick around at the end to ask any extra questions, and there'll also be an ongoing FAQs throughout the next month as well. So we won't run away. Just to say, we've done a community share offer for about 10 clubs now. They typically fit into 2 things. One is this situation where there's a change of ownership, and one is where the supporters already own the club and they want to raise some money for a particular facility development. So last season we did a similar thing at Banbury United, where the supporters needed to raise 20 grand and they took over the club. And again, can't promise this, but they actually had a great season, got promoted and back playing at your level. But better than that, they actually, I think got more people interested in the club again. The commercial, the sponsorship has gone up, more people volunteering. So it can work. We've got another one which is about to end in 2 days' time, 1 day's time at Peacehaven and Telscombe, so a club that's smaller than you in terms of history and size and gates. Set a target of 30,000, and they should make that. Again, it's for them. It was a bit more about sorting out some of the legacy issues they had, and making sure they had enough money to sort those issues out for when they played and got promoted and actually spent money on ground facilities that they no longer need, ironically. But it's a method that's becoming fairly popular, so it's happened before. There's lots of detail online as well as in these booklets. This goes a little bit, probably doesn't suit coming from me, and I think Lynn's covered quite a lot of it, but this is really like what we've talked about with the guys about, short-term, long-term goals. Ultimately, it's going to be for the members to decide anyway if you get there. This is just a baseline to show the direction of travel, but build an active membership of the club. That's what all the supporter-owned clubs have to do. Where where the members aren't engaged and on side and able to have a decent debate and discussion, that's where you get the problems at the support-run clubs. So we want an active membership. That's the point of the annual renewal of the membership. If you look at a lot of clubs across football generally, but particularly non-league football, you look them up on Companies House, there'll be a private company, there'll be a list of 15 pages of shareholders who once bought shares 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Half of them are dead, no one even knows that they own the shares, but yet they are legally the people that own that club. And what happens? Well, they end up building up debt, and that ends up being the ultimate control. What we want to do is get an annual renewing membership going so people join because they actually care, they're passionate about this club, they want to be part of this club, because they're the people that you want making decisions about the future of the football club. We've talked about something, but obviously increasing the number of volunteers at the club. I know you've already done extremely well for the people that have kept this club going. You've got to build on it, this is going to be, your opportunity, I think, hopefully, to get into some of the networks in the community, get into the different businesses, get into the schools. If everyone buys into the project, you people know your community better than anyone else, we've got to spread the message. Obviously, we need a competitive senior team, not at all costs, but we need a competitive senior team. Success does generate more crowds and interest, albeit, as we know, that on its own won't solve the problems financially. Again, the guys have talked about growing the number of teams that represent Grays Athletic. We talked about the sustainable business model, rebuilding the community interest in the club, and the obvious one that Glenn's talked about. Quite a lot of the clubs we've worked with have suffered, in terms of their ground and stadium. You look at some of the ones on the list there. You've got the Enfield Town, for example. It's taken them a long time, but they're now back playing in Enfield, very near where they used to play. Fisher Athletic, another one, playing at Dulwich, a long way from home. Obviously in a roundabout way, AFC Wimbledon. There's others, Hendon and others. Getting that ground back so you can have that base, be that focal point in the community, build your revenue, that's obviously absolutely critical. You don't need me to tell you that or lecture you about that, but how can you use this model, how can you use the interest, how can you use the connections that might come from this to help win some of those debates and arguments to get you close to home, because it's going to be difficult. And it might be that you probably won't be able to raise the money yourself, so you're going to have to rely on other partners and people to help get that ground. And this is a way to help unlock that. I'm almost there. It's the last slide, and then we can have some questions. But just a mini roadmap of how it could look, just to help sort of compute what I've said, really. So, as Glenn said, we've got that agreement that we swallow to transfer the club. The share offer now is obviously to find out there's enough backing for it, but also know we've got enough finance to make it work and be viable. That's the minimum amount. We want to smash it, we want to raise more. The end date for that initial chunk is the end of next month. We have to, and rightly so, we have to work with the league, the county FA and the FA. Understandably, they want to ensure that this new club isn't going to fail in halfway through the season. They also want to make sure that any of the legacy issues are resolved as we put it forward in a new model. So that's something that we can work with, and to be honest, they're all the questions that we need to answer anyway as a group. So there shouldn't be any difficulties, but it's just a process we need to go through. So yeah, target hit hopefully end of July. At that point, depending on, I suppose, making sure we're at the right stage with the football authorities, we can open up the membership knowing that we've got a minimum that we need. The deposit, that money that's sat in the separate account, can be converted to community shares. in the Community Benefit Society. Sorry, I should row back. We're using the Supporters Trust model because it's already a community benefit society that exists. The idea is that we'll just change the rules subject to members' approval, because at the moment the Supporters Trust is essentially a support involvement body, whereas we need to change those rules. It's the right legal structure, but it needs to reflect that you don't run a club. So I should have mentioned that earlier on. So 50 of our members use the club set of rules that says we own our club, and 150 use the set of rules that say we need more voice at our club. So at the moment, the trust understandably have got we need more voice at our club. So we can change those rules subject to member approval. So there's a bit of tidying up that needs to be done, but that doesn't preclude you right now to being support owned. So build up the members and then have board elections as soon as really is reasonably possible. So put end of the year. It might be before that. You know, you want a democratically elected board really as soon as possible because it helps everyone. Equally, you can't have an election after day one because you haven't got any members. So you need to build up the membership to start with. So that's kind of the timeline. Obviously, I haven't put what happens if we don't hit the target. You know, as I said, that's uncertainty really, and it means